Hola, how's everybody doing?
Good. How are you tonight, Megan?
Doing really well. I am changing my privacy settings real quick so I could share the show. I wish I could do it beforehand,
I do
but for some
too.
reason, I don't know why it's like that. But so, welcome to Chicks and Salsa. It's been a while since we had Candy on here, and we have missed you very much. Talk to us about you've been to a couple of races the last few weekends or a couple of weekends ago.
We were actually at Daytona and we covered the Daytona
Exciting.
500. You know,
That's so
the what they call their Super Bowl.
Right. Very much so. Yeah, very much so.
Yeah, so we were there. It was kind of crazy. It was actually surprisingly a very clean race until like the end. And then there was all kinds of cautions. And
Oh
it was
no.
yeah, it was to the point where like, okay, who won? Like, and it's very different being in at a race and being out there like on TV. You get the zoomed in cameras and they zoom in on, you know, the finish line. Depending on where your sight line is, where you're sitting or where you're viewing it from, you're like, okay, wait, a caution just came out. Were they cross the line first? Did they not? Who was it? You know, if anybody hasn't heard, it was Stenhouse Jr. that won. Kudos to him. I have to say, he had only won 2 out of the last 363 Cup Series races in 12 years.
Oh,
so
wow.
it's really good for him. I mean, and the thing I want to really kind of highlight is that NBA All-Star Brad Daugherty, who had missed the race as he recovers from eye surgery, he became the first African-American team owner to win the Daytona 500.
Oh, that's right.
And Jody Gishtaker, she became the first female owner to win the Daytona 500 as well.
Oh,
That's awesome.
That's really awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you were talking about your sight line. So where were you at the race?
So I was a photographer, so I could roam and wander.
Cool.
Yes.
All right, my gypsy girl.
Right.
Cool, but it was my first time covering the Daytona 500, so it was interesting, like where spots where you would stand and you're like, okay, well, this is a good view for this corner and this, but the thing you think about is it's a big oval track. You can't see all of it, so all of a sudden there's a caution flag and you're like, where? And they do have some big screens up, but if you're not facing them, it really makes it difficult. I'm like, that was interesting. It was just a different perspective.
It seems really dangerous to me.
It
like
can
how
be
close. How close to the track were you?
At times I could be in pit road or right behind pit row when they're work actually running. You have to be behind pit row, but you're right there, like by pit row, or you can walk around by the corners and stuff like that. You have to stay. Obviously, they have the safety precautions before that, and you want to make sure you're kind of staying back further. Like I guess since it was my first Daytona, I was being a little more cautious than probably usual.
Right, for sure.
But it was still an unbelievable experience. It was really cool.
So you said awesome. at the end of the race there was drama. So what happened?
So there were all kinds of cautions. There was some of the guys actually that Kyle Larson, he's
such a putz.
Tell us how you feel, Jen.
I don't like them.
Amazing how technical they get, because now the winner, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., he actually ran out of gas after he hit the final race. I mean the lap, because at the end they bring the car into what's called victory lane and you can take pictures and stuff like that. They had to tow it in because he literally ran out of gas.
Yeah, I've seen that happen before.
How close they run it. Mm-hmm. And it just amazing.
Like in one of those moments, like you said, this is like the Super Bowl of NASCAR. Mm-hmm. Did you have a moment when you kind of fangirled out?
No.
Okay. I was just like, I'm professional.
I think because I'm not as into racing as I used to be. Like I'm more into like some other sports, and some other sports I would probably be more of that fangirl, like, but not so much. Like they actually brought in Richard Petty into the room the day
I saw
before.
those pictures.
Yeah, and they brought in, I'm trying to think, who else did they brought in? Like Jeff Gordon was there. They brought some other people in there that was really cool.
Which Jeff Gordon's a owner now, right? Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
And then they brought they brought in Ric Flair's daughter. She's a wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
And she was in there, and they introduced her because she was part of the pre-game or pre-race festivities. It was cool. It was a very different, different experience.
Do you feel like the Daytona 500 was different than some of the other races that you've been to?
I do, because the other ones that we've been to are really the IMSA, which were more of the endurance racing. We haven't. I mean, we did do Talladega last year, and we did do one down in Miami Homestead. But yeah, I think Daytona, there was a lot more pomp and circumstances, and
No question for you.
Mm-hmm.
My boy, actually, my husband got me turned on to Kyle Busch. Okay, I actually love Kyle Busch. Before he was a Chevy driver, while he was still a Toyota, and everybody in the whole freaking road hated him. But do them.
I think there's still a few. Yes.
Yeah, there are people. He won his first race in a year this past weekend.
Right.
He was leading at the Daytona 500. Who wrecked him? Because I can't remember who wrecked him, but it was like in the first or second lap he got wrecked. Was it Keselowski again?
Oh, so early on he was in a wreck?
No. Final lap.
Oh, final lap. Okay.
Yeah.
Final 4 laps.
It was there. I think there was a whole bunch of them, because it was him and Danny Hamlin that went out, and there was a couple of them that wrecked right at the last 2 or a couple laps. Let me see if I can bring that. I don't remember.
Yeah, I was just trying to look it up myself, and I thought
it was. I mean, they were all really raring to go. It said Blaney lost a lap on pit row under repair, while others involved, Kyle Larson, Kyle Busch, Daniel Suarez, Martin Truex Jr. remained on the lead lap, and then they all crashed. I mean, it was just.
Oh man,
Elliott. It was a whole bunch of them, and it was.
It was Daniel Suarez.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So were you able to meet any of the drivers or any of the pit crew or anything like that?
They're really. They're kind of not standoffish, but they're guarded. Let's put it to you that way. So,
okay.
And then they brought them to the media room, like the winners and stuff like that. And so everybody was going in and asking questions. We didn't get any in on most of them, because there's writers that write about them all the time, and they're the ones who first get their first dibs. But it was still really.
No, I get that. I'll pop up in the Aces press Zoom room sometimes, and they're always going to deal with local media first. They always get the first go at things. So I get that. Do you feel, what was it like? Was there any differences in covering something like this, or in some of the other events that y'all have done that's not racing?
So I've covered NBA basketball. I've done NFL football games. I've done MLB baseball. I've done spring training. I would say it's different with the excitement, because I've never gone to the Super Bowl. I've been at.
It was a lot of fun.
All-Star games. Right. But to be at the actual event, I've never been at the actual Super Bowl. I've been at MLB All-Star games. I've been at playoffs before. I think the access is just a little different. I would say they might be a little bit more forthcoming, because I think it's a sport that doesn't get as much attention as some of the big your MLB and your NFL and NBA. Those, everybody thinks of a sport, they're thinking of those before they're thinking of racing. Racing is really a diehard. You have to be in Whereas you have more casual fans, I think, for the other sports. So there's more fans, is what I would say, kind of.
Well, and I used to be a pretty big fan, and they didn't lose me because of anything really negative. It's just my driver retired, and so I was a Dale Jr. fan, and as we know, he sustained a concussion late in the season, and then it ended up taking him like 9-10 months to get back to it. Jeff Gordon stepped in and drove for him. And I haven't watched since then. So I really don't know. I know things are a little different now, but and they changed some rules a couple of years ago. So I'm probably going to have to
a lot of rules. I'll tell you some stuff that was told to me in confidence at one point.
That they what?
I'll tell you some stuff that was told to me from NASCAR communities. Off topic.
Well, yeah, you live right there in the birthplace of NASCAR, really. So you live
all
right
you out-of-towners think you know how to drive. Get out of my way. I was born and raised here.
That's cool. Very cool.
Well, it's interesting.
All right, so
the one thing I would say about the Daytona race is it is interesting, the history of it, because it literally did start on the beach.
Yep, it really did.
Really?
That's where Francis started it.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
So, like, North Carolina is the birthplace, but the actual first race was Daytona.
Wow.
And that is where France was the founder of NASCAR, technically.
Yes.
He was elected the first president.
Really?
Yeah. And he actually had the first female driver, like, their inaugural year. So when people made a big deal about Danica Patrick, like, yeah, okay, great. But she definitely wasn't the first female driver.
She was Indy, right?
Yeah.
She was an Indy driver.
I think she tried Indy some too, but she was NASCAR.
Yeah, I think she did both. Yeah.
Yeah, I think she did both a couple of times. I mean, a lot of drivers do both. But and people have that misconception that, I mean, all the other types of racing came essentially from NASCAR. But, we were the moonshine people. We're the moonshine state, and we still know how to make it here. I'm just saying.
Right.
I can go a little southern east if y'all need. No.
Dale Jr. was a redhead, and Cliff so I don't have an attraction to him. Okay, so let's we had a little drama come through. Well, I mean, there's always drama when we talk Dan Snyder and what's going on with the Commanders. And so there was some more allegations that came out this afternoon. Jen, you want to kind of brief us on them?
Sure. So what came out? Okay, so we all know that Dan Snyder has the allegations of the IRS investigating him for 2, possibly 3 sets of books. But what came out in the last, seriously. So the Washington football team, Washington Redskins, Commanders, they have in their contract, that ownership contract, that you cannot take out a loan without permission from the board of directors, which is the entire ownership group, right?
Okay.
In the last 24 hours, the minority owners of the Commanders have come out with allegations that he has he took out a $55 million loan against the Commanders in 2020 without their permission to use as his own personal.
My question is did they just find this out? Like,
I don't think so. I
mean,
think
because just yesterday they said they blocked Bezos from putting in a bid on it, right?
That was actually about 3 weeks ago, but it was like getting more traction because there's an interesting twist on that, and I can hit on that in a minute if you are. I'll hit on it now. Some people are saying they think that Snyder wants more money from Bezos, but what the comments
to cover that loan, right?
But I mean, he's asking $6 million. He paid what, 2.5? He's asking $6 billion. He paid what, 250 million for it?
Well, okay, the way that the market has changed, I think pretty much in the big 3, or maybe even the big 4 as far as sports, I think any franchise is going to be worth at least $1 billion now.
Agreed.
That's just kind of what it is. And then, you look at the Phoenix Suns and the Phoenix Mercury situation, they got a new owner, a management group as well. And they paid like $3 billion extra. Like
right.
it was supposed to go for $4 billion. And they just went ahead and said, take 7, make sure we're the ones that get it, and, which, whatever, if you want to throw the money around and you got it. But I think that the inflation since when he bought it, you can expect at least.
Oh yeah, you can expect $1 billion, but honestly, I think with all the reputational risk he has caused,
right,
the organization, all the lawsuits, all the money they're going to end up having to pay the IRS for multiple sets of books.
Well, and then they need a new stadium. Like it needs.
They have to get a new stadium. Right? He can't get their current stadium, FedEx Stadium.
And they have no quarterback. They don't have a quarterback either.
Well, actually, they have Sam Howell. Sam Howell's been named the starter.
They still have Heineke, right? They still have Heineke.
Yeah, Heineke's still the backup. Yeah.
Okay.
Like they were dumb to put Carson Wentz in. They cut Carson. Ron cut Carson yesterday, I think.
So with this loan, like, is that all that came out about it as far as the allegations?
Well, there's that, but plus, like, Snyder's threatening to sue for identification. I can't say it right now. Because he's saying he's had great harm caused to him. I'm sorry, sir.
Okay. Wait a minute.
You're not one of the cheerleaders that you tried to prostitute out.
He was charging the team $10 million a year to ride his jet, and then he charged them $4.5 million to put their logo on the jet, and he was calling that an advertising fee. Come on, seriously,
like he's a piece of work.
He sounds like he's real hurt. A whole bunch of defamation.
Right.
I feel like, no offense, Candy, I feel like his best friend probably lives down in South Florida. I mean, for real, with all that narcissism going on. But
wow.
The allegations are ridiculous. I don't understand how the IRS hasn't tossed his butt in jail, because I know they need more agents. I'm well aware of this. We're not talking small amounts of money here. Pretty sure they have their top people looking at it. So
my dogs are yappers. Sorry, y'all.
No, you're fine. They're just, I can barely hear them if it makes you feel better. I don't know, like the fact that you're so narcissistic to say
that. And then, even before all this, when all this stuff happened with the Raiders coach, what's his name?
Gruden.
Okay. And Snyder was a part of that as well. Yep. And really kind of when the heat started coming down, that's really right. That's, I feel like this is a situation that they've been well aware of for a very long time. Like, how long has he owned the Commanders?
Since 96, I think.
Okay, so they're not it's not their first day.
But with the current allegations, what did come out yesterday is that 31, and I put a poll on our Facebook page, you guys, so if y'all are interested, go check it out. But 31, as we know, there are 32 teams in the NFL. 31 of the NFL owners are going to be taking a vote whether or not to just push him out. So if he gets pushed out, my question is, does he get money from the sale of it? I should have looked up if the former owner of the Charlotte Hornets, New Orleans Pelicans, got any money when he got pushed out of the NBA. But
with the guy from the Clippers, when he got pushed out, yeah, he got that money.
He did get the money.
He died.
Fair, but they need to go ahead and boot him out. But my question is, who's going to run in the interim?
But the money from the sale, like, how much money does he owe the IRS? How much money does he owe these loans? Like, how much does that add up to? Like, do they go ahead and take that money out as soon as the sale is made? Like, oh, no. Like, and is he going to do any time for this?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. No, that's the most important question right there. Because if it was me, you, or Candy that had these types of crimes, we would go into prison.
Oh, especially me and Candy, given our day jobs.
Well, right.
Especially me and
No,
Candy.
I mean, I couldn't help but laugh when you said like a third set of books. Like what?
Like literally.
God,
Like,
that's
yo,
crazy.
sir. Like, if I were
So
to see
okay,
things,
when
I'd
all
be
the Gruden
so
stuff
panicked.
happened, like when all the Gruden stuff happened, I remember him, and this seems to be his go-to threat is that he's going to take others down with him. Like we know the whole email situation and all that, right? So like, do we think he follows through on those threats? And what do you think can come of that?
I actually wondered when it came out about the aces, about the Mark paying,
Mhm.
like doing false advert, like giving like fake
And it, no,
advertising
it's
deals
still
to players.
it's
It's still being
still
investigated.
right. Yeah, it's still being investigated.
Because he's the owner of the Raiders, I wondered if that wasn't one of the secrets. But what are you going to do to Ursi? We all know he's a drug addict. Like literally, like, and I mean, I hope he gets the help, but there's not many secrets out there anymore about owners.
Well,
Okay.
no, I mean, I think it's the good old boy
Yeah.
mentality, like the racism that is, you're being outed for that, and obviously that's what happened with Gruden, and so that was more the tone that I take with it, and
Mhm.
like, I am a fan of a team that if it came out about that owner, that I probably wouldn't be that surprised, but he's the richest owner in the world of any sports franchise, so
Yeah.
I don't see him being forced out. I don't think there's anything that could come out that would force him out of that position
I
of owning
agree
that.
with you. I don't think, like, I mean, so what are you going to release that's so scandalous? So there's one allegation I will not say on air, but it's been widely reported in years past. I've told y'all about it in the past against the New Orleans State owner.
Oh, right.
Already been known. Um, okay, the rumors about Jacksonville trying to go to England. Ooh, but Khan's actually a pretty legit man. Like from everything I've seen, how he runs the Jacksonville Jags, how he runs AEW, like it's
Right.
all legit. How he
Well, no,
runs.
like I say, I think it's more the racial stuff that's going to come out and be the problem. And as we've seen, like with the Clippers owner, that was the problem, that was the
Yeah.
issue, and that's how he got forced out. Does that happen here? And but most importantly, I think with this, I think what I want to know the most is he going to do any time for this, like for the actual crimes, not for, which don't get me wrong, like yeah, of course I want to know if he's racist, if he should be allowed to have a team and perpetuate a toxic racist environment like that, like of course you should be outed for that, but that's not something you go to jail for. This though, these financial crimes, you do go to jail for these types of things, and so for me, that's where I want to see the retribution for. Like I think he needs to be held accountable for that.
I agree. And look how Martha Stewart rebounded. She hangs with Snoop.
For sure.
So I mean,
Truly, like
I do wonder if she's come
but
up with recipes for him. Like, it's something that's crossed my mind.
THC recipes. But and even
So do we, Will.
with,
So do we.
but even with Martha Stewart, like, what she did was insider trading. Somebody told her, like, hey, you're about to lose a lot of money. And so she moved her money. To me, if somebody told me I was about to lose a whole bunch of money, I'd probably move it too. It's not the same type of crimes as
Right.
3 sets of books, the type of deception that he's had for almost 3 decades now. So
Exactly.
Well, it's considered bank fraud. I mean,
Exactly.
that could be very serious, and
for someone like me, you, or Jen over there, yeah, it would be very serious. So why, for me, I just want to know that, like, it doesn't matter how much money you have, like, you should be held accountable the same way as everybody else.
You should be.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, straight up.
No,
I wonder
we
if
shall see as it unfolds. It's like for me, it's like a Telemundo soap opera, just all the time with the commanders. It's something else. Like they're
like
first the racist. Now they have different books. Now you took out a loan. Your stadium fell apart on fans.
And you've been like kicked out of every area that you've tried to purchase land in because nobody wants you to do business with them because you keep lying.
Right.
No, okay, I don't know this. Could he also get in trouble for wire fraud and mail fraud?
Yes. I mean, I would
I
assume
would
yes.
think so, especially going across state lines, especially in that area.
Right. Well, okay, so let's we're almost to the end of it. Let's go ahead and move on to a happier topic.
Yes.
As we know,
We're gonna
Dan
let you
Snyder
cover this one.
he should be held accountable. Hopefully we see that happen. But on a happier topic, Dame Lillard this week hit 71 points and in a game versus the Houston Rockets, which so I want to chime in and say that because the Houston Rockets have the worst defense in the league. So not to take anything away from Dame, but they're obviously not defending anybody. This is our second 70-plus point game this season. First, we saw Donovan Mitchell very early on in the season get it. And the reason I think Dame's is a little more special is because Dame got it in regulation, like under 40 minutes. Like he wasn't even on the court the entire time. He got it in under 40 minutes. So just something really special. Now, the rest of the team, like the next highest scorer was Jeremy Grant, and he only had 13 points. But I think like it's kind of like the Kobe 81-point game. When you know somebody's just that hot, you just pass them the ball.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
I was super impressed with it. And then actually a quote came out today from Dame, and it's not actually related to that, but it's just something that I'm such a huge Dame fan, and people are always really critical of him because he's loyal to Portland, and it doesn't seem like they're going to win while he's there. They seem to trade away his help all the time. And so his quote came out today. He said, "You look at Russell Westbrook, you leave OKC for Houston, then James Harden decides he's leaving. Now Russ is traded to DC. Then you get traded from DC to the Lakers. Now you're on the fourth team in 4 years. And in your second year on the team, everybody is talking about how they should trade you. Now you're coming off the bench. This dude is a Hall of Famer and an MVP. And it's an example of the grass is not always greener. Like it's not as simple as changing teams and then you automatically get a championship. Like it doesn't always work out like that." And his comment of I win plenty over there in Portland, I just think it's admirable. I know a lot of people think, oh, you're supposed to go after the ring, but for him, the life that he's built there in Portland, like this is a team that believes in him and appreciates him. And no, they don't necessarily do right with putting the right pieces around him. Like, I don't think you could have necessarily known that Chauncey Billups wasn't going to be the greatest coach. I personally did. Like, you should have hired Becky, but whatever. But I don't think it's all about. Right. I don't think it was all about that for Dame. Like he is somewhere where he's happy, and to expect him to leave somewhere where him and his entire family is happy because he's a family guy, I think is very obtuse. We're all different. And, while he may not, look, Allen Iverson tried to chase a ring. He joined with Carmelo Anthony and Chauncey Billups in Denver, and they didn't win a thing. Russ, he's not going to win a ring most likely. Like, it's just not that simple. And so for you to be dedicated to your team, I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
It kind of reminds me of Giannis.
71 points. Sheesh.
Yeah.
Giannis came, he was drafted by the Bucks. The Bucks liked him. He could have gone to how many other different teams?
Right.
He stayed with a hometown team that really, the same thing. He loves his teammates. He loves the fans, and they supported him when he came over, and he showed his loyalty. And there's a lot to be said with players that show loyalty.
There really is.
Right. Mm-hmm. And so how many teams has KD joined? And he's only won one ring. And he had to join Golden State for that to happen, Which, don't get me wrong, he was the best player on the floor at the time. But regardless, like that, he had to join Golden State to do that. And that was the team that he almost beat in the playoffs the year before. So for me, like, you joined the enemy.
Right.
You were almost there. You and Russ and Steven Adams, y'all were almost there. Like, and then you go and join them. So to me, that's, but I'm a Spurs fan. We're very loyal. Like, yes, it is a business. People get traded. Mm-hmm. Things happen. Like the way DeMar left the Spurs, I felt like was admirable. He played the entire time. He didn't sit out any time. He left in free agency. So, and he just did what was best for him. And I feel like that's very respectable. There are players that refuse to play. There are players that talk bad about the medical staff and talk bad about the team that drafted them and made them who they are, and then are, in my opinion, ungrateful. Kawhi.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Yep.
I just had to get that in. Kawhi.
I don't agree with that, but
ungrateful.
And I'll say this. I just wish loyalty was more prevalent.
Same.
And that's
same.
across the odd
But
but I understand.
I do understand it. Because
Megan, you might like this comment.
I saw that. I do understand it because you need to do what's right for you. If Kawhi would have been like, "Hey guys, I just want to go back home," because that was the issue. He wanted to go back to California, and the NBA is a lot different than the NFL. NFL, you don't have a whole lot of say in where you go and what you do and control over your career like that. So I don't knock it, but how you did it, like you could have just said, like, "Hey guys, when." I'm not going to sign my extension. These are my plans. I really want to go back to California because that's where my family is. Like, who can hate on that? I can't hate on that. And I'm a diehard Spurs fan. Like, that's respectable.
And I'll say this, I wish. Oh, I'm sorry, Candy. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say it's not like LeBron and them guys and the famous three. I'm taking my talents to South Beach.
Oh, I hate it. I hated it. I hated it. Like, I didn't hate the move. I hated how he handled it. I hated how he handled it because he really didn't have anything around him there in Cleveland at the time. And so I don't really blame him. Like, he wanted to win. He wanted to go play with his friends. Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. Like, I mean, you want a good working environment. Okay, say that. Exactly. Don't be like, oh, you're so full of yourself that, oh, I'm taking my talents to South Beach. Like, all right. Yeah. Well, so I guess that does it for us tonight. We kind of got off on a different tangent, but and more on why I love Dame so much, because he's loyal, and I love that. And I think that he's got such a great personality, and he's very respectable. And congratulations to him to getting 71 points.
I will say this, congratulations to him too. I feel part of me still feels like Kemba's story would have ended up differently had we not cut him.
I agree.
Mm-hmm. I know you're loyal, Will. You're one of the most loyal people I know, mi amigo.
All right, guys. Well, that does it for us tonight. Thank you so much for watching, commenting, sharing. We appreciate you guys tuning in every week. Once again, keep one of our chicks in your positive thoughts and prayers, as we all have stuff that are going on. And we love you, Kari.
We love you, Kari. Glad you're back, Candy. Everybody have a great night. IM us or put on the page if there's a topic you want us to cover.
Absolutely.
Talk to y'all later. Bye.